Our next speaker for eXL is Mr. Tiago Costa. He is here with us to share his insights about best resources for technologists and technology trainers. Tiago Costa is a cloud architect and advisor and international speaker on Microsoft Azure. For past years, he has been architecting and developing solutions using Microsoft Azure for some of the Fortune 500 companies. Due to his strong real-world experiences, Tiago regularly teaches Microsoft Azure classes around the world. He has been Microsoft Azure MVP since 2016 for his community efforts in promoting and sharing knowledge with the community. Tiago has 50 plus Microsoft certifications including MCT and got awarded as MCT Regional Lead since 2016 every year. He is the founder of the Azure Portugal User Group. He loves diving into new technologies and sharing his experiences at conferences and training classes. As a reminder to all of our attendees, this conference is being recorded. We will have Q&A at the end of this presentation. Please use the Q&A tool if you have a question for the speaker. The stage is all yours, Tiago. You can now share your content and unmute yourself. Thank you for being here.
Okay, so thank you very much for the kind presentation. It's always a pleasure to be here and talking, in this amazing conference. And I've been watching some of the speakers that we have been having here, so I hope that everyone is going to enjoy it. My session is going to be a little bit different, but that's, I think, what we're doing here. So my session is about best resources for technologies and technology trainers. And doing a short presentation, and already did, but basically, yes, I work as a cloud architect. I'm a trainer, author, and I usually speak in some events that range from, local meetups into those larger events like Microsoft Ignite, Microsoft Build, and I'm based in Lisbon, Portugal. So basically kind of my short version of my presentation. So what is the agenda for talking about resources? So I just have here I want to start to think about what is the trainer and the technology in 2022, and also what is a student in 2022 based on my own experiences, and also for all the conversations that I have with also other trainers all around the world. I'm also regional lead, so I usually talk a lot of times with other Microsoft certified trainers. So it is normal for me to having and engage in this kind of topic and this kind of conversations. And our goal is always to improve, and how can we improve, and how can we be better as trainers. And of course, then let's talk about tools. Let's talk about software. Let's talk about hardware that you can use to be the best in class. Also, again, a little bit based on what I usually do. For people that know me, and are on the call, yes, I have my blurred background today because this is an hotel room. So I'm traveling today. I'm currently in Germany, and I couldn't do this from my home office, which is I have to confess, it's my preference. And I'll show you some pictures about it, and you will understand why. But I think we also have a good experience, and it's also nice, also to tell about that sometimes we're not in our best environment, and we still need to do this kind of stuff. It's not because of that I'm not going to do a session on a conference. It's not because of that I'm not going to provide, an amazing class for my students. So, but let's just get started. And what is the trainer in 2022? So pre-2022, always a subject matter expert. So this is pre-2022. It needs to be, a native, basically a very good communicator. It's not someone that has, problems in communicating with other people. And we all have colleagues that are like that. They're not better or worse than the others. They're just like that. But as a trainer, you need to have this. You need to engage with your student. Pre-2022, it did. Most of us, before the pandemic, let's just call that, we did tons of basically in-person deliveries, and rarely remote deliveries. Depends on the geo. If it's in the US was a little bit more advanced on the remote deliveries, but the rest of the world, and I teach for the US, I work a lot for the US, I will work a lot in Europe, Middle East, and sometimes in Asia. And I have to confess that, I used to travel a lot to Singapore to go there and teach. Okay, and I had to travel there, coming back, which for me it's a big journey from Europe, because remote was not an option for them. They didn't want it. Nowadays, they're usually more open to that. So in 2022, what is the trainer? Still a subject matter expert, still a communicator, but definitely a virtual first. So more and more, deliveries of classes are being shifted to this to this virtual experience, and not so much about the in person. So definitely a shift that is here to stay, in my own opinion. It's not something that, oh, it was just during the pandemic, Tiago, like many other things happened, and now we are, kind of, and I'm kind of doing this, okay, leaving the pandemic. Okay, it's becoming more and more in person again. No, definitely not. I think this is one of the areas that change. It's here to stay, definitely, but it's still a challenge, for some people to deliver this from their home, their offices. And also, I think even more of a challenge is for the students to attend a class virtually. Okay, but we'll get to that in just a moment. But instructor-led trainer is no longer what I call the king. So it's no longer that. And we talked with trainers before all this. Yeah, ILT, and everyone was doing ILT, and very few were doing something else. Most trainers were doing 100% instructor-led training. When we talk about nowadays, we have other means of delivering our content. Probably not something that is going to be, live. Maybe it can be recorded videos, etc. But the thing is, create your own content. Okay. Never use the vendor content to record those kinds of videos, because probably you can't do that because the vendor doesn't allow you that. Or when I say vendor, I'm saying my case, for example, Microsoft, but of course, Adobe, AWS, Google, etc. They might have some restrictions on that. So just check with the vendor if this is something that you can do. And of course, my own very, very big advice is, get a separated space for your deliveries. This is not definitely something that during the pandemic might be acceptable. Okay, just grab and do this from the kitchen or something like that. But I think nowadays, you need to have a proper place to start to be a little bit more professional on this. Of course, we're always, if you have the space. If you don't have the space, well, you need to kind of invent a space. And for example, I have a friend that he has a very tiny little house. It's in the middle of the city, a huge rent. It's super expensive, but it's tiny because he can't afford a big one, because the big one is very expensive, and he doesn't want to move from there. And it was my first advice: why don't you move? You move away from the center, you go to another house, cheaper, and then you can have your own space. No, so what he does, he kind of was able to build something in the kitchen, but he stays, kind of the camera stays pointing in direction that you don't imagine that is his kitchen. And I know his house, and I did some calls with him, and I said, where the hell you are? Did you move? Oh no, it's my kitchen. And then he just turned, the camera around, and I was like, oh, okay, oh, yeah, that's pretty good. I think it's pretty good, the system that you got. So you just need to, reinvent this. But let's talk about now about the student view, what the students can view, and of course, what is to be on the student side. The student is someone that it's his home or the office, and it's not like the classroom where they are just hyper focused on the class, and the trainer is there. The instructor is always looking at them, and they're not going to do other stuff because the trainer, is there, so they feel constrained in doing other stuff, so they pay attention to the class, all of that. Well, if you're at home, if you're remote, you have tons of distractions. Let's be honest, we all do. You're in your company laptop, which means email, Teams, Slack, all those IM things that start to pop up. Then you start to see, your colleagues, your boss texting you, sending you messages that shouldn't because you're in training. But, in the real world, that's what happens. So basically, it is really hard for you to have students totally focused for more than 30 minutes. There's like extensive studies on this. It's not Tiago saying, it's those studies. What I can do is I talk with my students and they give me that feedback too. So that's kind of my personal interpretation of the studies, and then I start to talk with my students, and that's what happens. So because of this, you as the trainer, as the instructor, you need to be what? You need to be engaging. Because to be honest with you, if you're not engaging on this, your students will be bored. And even if the topic sometimes is even good, because it's so bored, so dense, and you're not doing breaks and you're not, asking them to participate. It's just you sending information and the other party is just receiving information. Yeah, that's what happens. They're not going to focus after 30 minutes. So again, I say engaging. You really need to be engaging. Now, imagine this, and imagine all my classes. I always imagine one thing. I'm delivering a show, okay, to my students. And we all have been to, amazing concerts in our lives. And we all have been probably in, let's be nice now, not so amazing concerts. And you're like, I really love that singer, or that band, but I didn't like the show. It was a really boring show. And this just happened to me, a few weeks ago. There was a concert. It was like, I love the band, but it wasn't a good show because, they were just there. They just sing, go back, went home, and that was it. And it was, pretty bad. The content was there, okay, still, but it was not what I was expecting. Students expect that too. So they expect you to deliver the content, but in a super engaging way that they can then go tell their colleagues, I had, training with X, Y, or Z, and it was amazing. It was not just good, because good, if you're a subject matter expert on that, it's always going to be good. But we're just stepping up from the good to the amazing. So with this, in order to, be able to deliver this show, I'm just going to show you some of the tools and some tips that usually I use. So of course, always be on camera. It is already boring for us instructors, at least for me, be talking to circles. That's what I tell when I'm on Teams, and all my students don't have the cameras on, and I just see circles. But I found a way to motivate myself on that, etc. So I always like to see people on the other side, knowing that there's someone in the other side. I can see their eyes, I can see they're paying attention, I can see a face. Okay. So sometimes I even think about developing, like a bot for Teams that, it could be someone animated there that I can just relate with that. I already asked this for the Teams team. I'm not kidding. Okay. Because I feel it's something that it will make the difference. Okay. For people that are delivering this. But yeah, for you, they need to see you. They need to see your reactions, how you're engaging on all of that. And of course, start by doing a short presentation about your experience so that, just validate yourself as a subject matter expert on the field. Get expectations in place. For example, I teach some courses that sometimes people go with a certain expectation, but look, I really need to go there and tell them, look, this is what we're going to do today. This is what we're going to do next day, and this is the course. Okay, so that we don't have people in the end of the course. Oh, but Tiago, you didn't talk about subject A, B, or C. I was like, yeah, it's not on the content, but they know this from the start. Okay, then of course in remote training, look, less slides, please. I beg you, less slides, more demos, more whiteboarding. We have an amazing app if you're using the Windows ecosystem called Microsoft Whiteboarding. It is great. And if, for example, I have a Surface, and I don't know if you can see, but this is the Surface Pen. I can just draw on my Surface, and people see me drawing and see me, designing stuff, and like, oh, I teach Azure, so I'm like, oh, there's like this VNet here, and then communicates with that, and I just draw this, and I'm telling the story, and people see me, okay, drawing this. It's pretty awesome. Ask and even demand, okay, student participation. I have been having, classes in the beginning where I wasn't doing this, and I saw that, after some time, I clearly had the notion that some of my students were not there, but I couldn't prove it, So because I went to the chat and I asked, how is things? And I only had like 2 or 3, 4 out of like 7 or 8, responding. I was like, some people don't like to go to the chat and answer stuff on the chat. And then some people complain, oh, I can't see the chat. And, there's always stuff that can happen with your tool. I was like, no. So I started to use, some survey tools, and we're going to see some in a moment, that I always deliver some content, and like, bam, I have like 2 or 3 small questions. And then, just to validate that they are there, make them engaging, make them pay attention, because they know that there's going to be questions next. So they need to know the answers, and the answers will always be, when I'm explaining this. So that, again, engage. They engage in the class. Focus on your story. Don't start to tell, oh, there's this, and then there's that story. That it's very easy for trainers to do this. Okay, it also happens to me. I'm not going to say that I'm perfect, but try to focus yourself. It's virtual training, and that's good stories for the water cooler, for the coffee break or something like that. You can also do those. Create a coffee break area where everyone brings their coffee, and you're just there like 10, 15 minutes with your students, just having fun. Just having, water cooling conversations and nothing about the class, just to know them, make them sure that they turn their cameras on, and are just there, just, engaging, just chatting a little bit between us. And also allow for students to participate, be open for that. When they raise their hands on Teams, oh yeah, sure, just go there, talk with them, do this. In order to do this, we all know Microsoft Teams, we all know WebEx, Zoom, Adobe, Connect. There's tons of tools. What I want to say is, I don't care which tool you use. I don't care which tool I need to use. If it's a tool that you're not used to use, okay, because you're only using Teams, and now today you have to do this on Zoom. So that happened to me the other day. I don't do that much Zoom, and I was like, I had to do a webinar on Zoom, and I was like, oh, okay. So I just took an hour, and I created a Zoom call, and just tried Zoom myself to make sure, because I already used Zoom, but they might have changed something. I just did that, and 10 minutes later I was a Zoom expert. At least for the stuff that I needed to do, which is, all the tools work in the same way. Okay, you just need to know where things are, so that on the day you're not like, hey, let me share my screen. Oh, where can I share my screen? And when you have someone like this person really delivering technical training, and he doesn't know how to share the screen, it's not professional. Okay, so that doesn't happen to you. So just take some time, and then look, use proper resolution. Don't do more than full HD. Okay, I had people like, oh, I'm streaming in 4K. I was like, congratulations, no one can watch you in 4K. So most people. So why are you doing this in 4K? It just doesn't matter. Even full HD sometimes is an exaggeration, but okay, let's just say that. Zoom on your apps. Sometimes I have apps that they are like horrible because we can't scale them like we do for some little windows. So we use tools like Zoom and do this. So you can just say, hey, look at this. I can just do arrows. I can do like squares like this. I can underline things like this. Look, this is like amazing what I can do with this. And yeah, I know, I just went here, I just did this very quickly. I'm used to do this experience. If you start doing this at the first time, you're like, practice a little bit. The first time you're doing this live, probably is not that good, but next time will be better, and the other will be better, and by the fourth time you'll be an expert on this. It's not that much. Zoom it, look for it. It's free, okay, and it is definitely an amazing tool. If we're talking about technical training, sometimes we have to do like an Azure class, for example. It's like a huge setup to do this. Look, I've been doing this without lab providers before, and my God, I'm not going to enter into details, but it is a lot of work that I don't have time, because sometimes we used to have classes that were like 5 days. I used to go on Sunday, okay, or on Monday, like at 4 a.m. in the morning or something like that, to the training center to set up physically the class. Okay, nowadays, just go on the portal of the lab provider. I want this course. How many seats do you want? This many seats, okay, and then you distribute those to your students Monday morning. That's it. What I can tell you is, like Extreme Labs, look, if you're not used to the Extreme Labs environment, I'm sure everyone here is, but watch out. Just go there, check the UI again, so that you know what you're doing, and help your students, because students always have the same questions, to be totally honest. It's always the same thing. And if you're already used to that, you're like, oh yeah, click there. And they're like, oh, yeah, oh yeah, that worked, but you didn't even let me finish my question. Yeah, there you go, because I already know the question. So let's be productive, okay? So that's what happens. So get a lab provider like Extreme, like amazing what you can do there. Question polls, get like stuff like Mentimeter, Microsoft Forms. I love Mentimeter, I have to confess. Okay, by the way, I'm not sponsored by them, okay, or anyone. But the thing is, I really love, to be honest, Mentimeter. It's like amazing what I can do with that, and I can just put it live, and people start to see the answers coming, and we can do some gamification. If you answer correct, but with more quickly than the others, you get more points. So you can create that. So it's amazing, for people to participate. And then if you want, okay, you can just create some badges or something like that for them and just give them a badge because they were like awesome in answering questions and stuff like that. Okay. Talking about hardware very quickly. I don't have to say this. Computers are a tool. Don't try to save money, okay, on getting a proper computer because it will not help you, to be totally honest. So get a proper computer. Make sure your operating system is up to date. Look, it's not during the class that you're going to update your machine. And this is not just for Windows; it's for Mac OS, Linux, whatever you use. Doesn't matter. The recommendation is the same. So make sure you run updates, before you start your classes, a few hours before, so that it's not during the call where you are that, oh, I need to do this. Even in person, if you're in person doing this same stuff. Wireless is awesome. We all love wireless, but don't use it, okay? Try to wire everything, believe me. And today I'm using wireless headphones and microphone, which is something that I never do because I forgot to bring mine, okay? I always have a wired headset with me, but I don't know. I think I lost them. Hope not, that they are at home, but I always have those, to be totally honest, when I'm delivering a class. Batteries don't run out, okay? The connection is always awesome. So it is always better to have this. Same thing for wired keyboard, headphones, like all of this. It is something that I always love to have. And about like stuff like microphones and things like that. So again, avoid using your built-in mic. Built-in mics on computers are not that good, to be totally honest. And let's not forget one thing, okay? One of the things that we have to understand is people on the other side, they are listening to you. And listen to you is the main thing that they are going to do. You need to sound crisp. Okay, so definitely this is one of the first upgrades that you should consider. I have like some microphones there just for your, view. That's the most popular ones out there. My setup is this. So I use the Elgato Wave 3 with a shock mount and a pop filter. And that's for when I'm teaching, when I'm virtually delivering. And for recording, I have an Audio Technica and with a chaotica eyeball, which is that very large thing that you can see there, that ball that you can see over there. So that this really sounds that I'm like in a studio, okay? So it's really good. For video stuff, like before you spend money on very expensive cameras, which is usually what people first they do, don't do that, okay? Get proper lights. Lights, they can make your built-in camera from your computer to shine and to be like, people like, whoa, what amazing camera you have. I was like, it's just light, So it really makes a big difference. You don't need to get those, okay? They're pretty expensive, the ones that I'm showing there, but there are other cheaper models out there. Just find them. Just be careful to not have ones that they flicker. Sometimes they flicker, and then you can see that on the camera, the flickering of the light. So just watch out for that. See some reviews, and you should be fine. Video, get a nice webcam. Some laptop cameras, like I was saying, they're awesome. But if you want, you have like Logitech Brio, Logitech, the C9020S, they're pretty good. Okay, just see your budget there, to be totally honest. If you don't have a budget, you have like a lot of budget, let's just say, you can get like stuff like an SLR. You can even use a Sony, Canon, Pentax, there's plenty of brands there. Okay, just get those, and just use those. For example, this is my setup. I have a Sony A6600 that's how I record my stuff, or I stream, or I do my calls. And then I have a content camera, which is that camera on the right. Okay, so that I can show some stuff. So the other day I was just doing some a webinar for like FIDO keys, and I had to show the FIDO keys. I had to show MFA happening on an iPhone, on an Android, and I was just showing everything live from that content camera that I had there. Okay, really, really good, that camera, and you can use that. Also, to managing scenes, etc., there's an amazing software called OBS. Okay, Open Broadcaster software. And I also can use like a Stream Deck, which is like a small thing with buttons that we can use on this. Video background, make sure the background that you have is organized. Okay, don't do like one time I was as a student, I was in a class, and the instructor on the other side, he had so much clutter in the background, but so much that I was like, oh my God. And then I was like, will I say something to the person? Will he get mad with me? And I didn't know how to do it, but fortunately, someone else said something. So I was like, okay, I didn't told him, but someone told him, okay. So it was really great for me, because I was really didn't know what I was doing. I was going to tell him, but I was trying to find a way to tell that. If you're like today, like I'm not in my natural space, look, do what I did today. I'm in an hotel room, like I said, in the beginning of my presentation. So just blur the background so people, don't clearly see it's an hotel room. If I didn't tell you, and I can tell you because that's the topic today is this, but if I was doing something else, I was not going to tell my audience that, So use a background picture, or blur the background, but just do something like that. If you really want to go next level, get a green screen, like get a green screen through OBS. You can even put some, some very crazy effects on that. Sure, yes. If you want that, which is something that the next speaker, Armando, is going to do, is using some kind of effects like that, because I noticed when he entered, he turned the camera on and that way. So look, just do that. And there's like virtual cameras that you can use and stuff like that. There's so much that we can do in this. But last tips that I have here to close this. Log in as another trainer, as another training session, as you were a person in the class, so that you can see what you are doing, Have something to drink near you, water, always. And if you're doing the middle of the presentation and you're like this, there you go, and you just do this. Look, no problem at all. No one should find this a big problem, because you need to have your throat, okay, always with water, or else you will start to cough, okay, and then you will just lose more time, to be honest. Have something near you like water, tea, coffee, like whatever you prefer, as long as you're not like, clearly drinking a beer or something like that. I think, to be honest, personally, okay, in some cultures that can be accepted. We work with different people from different parts of the world, so I try not to do that. Okay, I don't like to do that myself too, but if you're with friends, sure, do that, no problem. Okay, we have a group of MCTs that we meet from every week, and sometimes we share, okay, virtually a glass of wine, but that's a different call. Okay, it's not training. Okay, during training, I'm not going to do that. But yeah, water, tea, coffee, whatever you prefer. Usually, I like tea because it's hot and it's better for my throat. Get a plan to upgrade your setup if you want to do this, okay, at that next level, and deliver like that amazing show for your students. But don't forget one thing. In the end, it's you that makes a difference. It's your being engaging, being natural, being yourself. It's you knowing your stuff, because it's the same stuff. I only teach Azure. But if you ask me, hey, Tiago, can you go teach Dynamics? Can you go teach Google Cloud or AWS? It's not my setup that's going to make a difference. People will not like my classes for sure, because I don't know about the topic, okay? So don't forget that. It's you that makes the difference.